Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to everyone joining us here at the ASEAN Energy Business Forum. My name is Matthew George, and I'm the communications lead at the Asia Clean Energy Coalition. It's truly an honor to host this important session titled Empowering ASEAN's Energy Transition, Corporate Pathways to Renewable Energy. Today's dialogue brings together policymakers, corporate leaders, financiers, and energy experts from across the region to explore one of the most dynamic frontiers of ASEAN's clean energy journey: how we can enable and scale corporate renewable energy procurement. Over the next 1.5 hours, we will unpack the frameworks and mechanisms that can make this transition practical, credible, and investable, from corporate power purchase agreements and utility green tariffs to emerging models that connect private demand with regional energy ambitions. Our shared goal is simple yet significant: to identify how governments and corporates can work hand in hand to unlock greater renewable energy deployment and strengthen ASEAN's competitiveness. Before we begin, please note that all materials for the session are available digitally. You can scan the QR code displayed on the screen to download today's materials and follow along. And now, to officially open our session, it is my pleasure to invite Ms. Suji Kang, Program Director of the Asia Clean Energy Coalition, to deliver her welcome remarks. Ms. Suji, the floor is yours.
Well, good morning, distinguished delegates, policymakers, and corporate leaders and partners. I'm Suji Kang, Program Director of the Asia Clean Energy Coalition, where I've been working together with a very powerful private sector community to advance corporate decarbonization goal in Asia Pacific. It's my great pleasure to welcome all of you to this important session, where we will be basically navigating on the ways of collaborating together to make the best frameworks for corporate renewable energy procurement in Southeast Asia. And I would like to begin by thanking ASEAN Center of Energy, Dr. Andy, Rosalie, and also for our corporate members here to join us, and also for the partnership, and also providing this important platform where we bring together private and public sector leaders to shape the future of renewable energy landscape in Southeast Asia. So this session brings together diversified profile in our stakeholder group. So we have policymakers, we have corporate developers, buyers, our think tank partners, knowledge partners. All together, we want to have a very constructive dialogue on how to strengthen frameworks that make corporate renewable energy more affordable, accessible, accountable, and scalable. So ASEC is basically prioritizing a diversified menu of options, cost-effective menu of options, including both existing and emerging ones like UGT, utility green tariffs, and also corporate power purchase agreements like CPPAs. And these procurement models are key to unlock new investment and accelerating the deployment of renewables across ASEAN. So we all know that across Southeast Asia, the demand for clean energy from corporate side is ramping up as businesses are embedding renewables to their net zero strategies and supply chain management. And these commitments are creating powerful market signals that are beneficial for governments by bringing more foreign investment and creating green jobs, enhancing energy security, and supporting economic competitiveness. And for corporates, they provide more reliable, credible pathways to meet their decarbonization commitments. So together, These outcomes strengthen ASEAN's position as a leading region for green manufacturing, digital infrastructure, and sustainable trade. Policy clarity and regional alignment are essential to making this vision to a reality. So our discussion today is basically focusing four areas. The first one is to enhance understanding among policymakers and stakeholders of the various mechanisms available for corporates and how this can be adapted to national contexts. And secondly, to showcase successful case studies and best practices from across ASEAN countries. And third, to facilitate a structured dialogue between policymakers and corporate leaders on what is needed to make procurement mechanisms bankable, transparent, and scalable. Finally, and most importantly, to strengthen collaboration between regional policymakers, industry stakeholders, and knowledge partners to accelerate renewable energy deployment in ways that serve both national priorities and corporate decarbonization goals. Ultimately, the success of ASEAN's energy transition will depend on collaboration. It's not just about technologies, it's not just about regulations, but about trust and partnership between private and public sectors leaders. Together, we can design solutions that align national priorities with corporate action and ensure that our shared progress benefit both people and the planet. So thank you again all for your dedication and support to this important conversation. And I hope to have the most constructive dialogue today all together. Thank you.
Thank you, Suji, for the welcome address. Your remarks perfectly set the tone for today's discussion, reminding us that collaboration between policymakers, corporates, and financiers aren't just desirable, but absolutely essential. If ASEAN is to truly realize if ASEAN is to realize a truly inclusive and accelerated energy transition. To continue, we're pleased to hear from the ASEAN Center for Energy, our co-organizer for today's session and a key partner in advancing regional collaboration on clean energy. Delivering the next opening remarks, please join me in welcoming Dr. Andy Tirta, Chairman of the ASEAN Energy Business Forum and Head of Corporate Affairs at the ASEAN Center for Energy.
Thank you so much, MC, and also all participants. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, excellencies. It's a I'm standing here actually because my boss right now on the other part of the AMEM, he's very busy, but we really acknowledge the event here in this session is very important. So on behalf of ASEAN Center for Energy, it's my great pleasure to welcome to all of you to these important sessions, empowering ASEAN's energy transitions, corporate pathways to renewable energy. Let me first to thank also to our partners, Asia Clean Energy Coalition or ACEC. We have been working like last 3 years, 3 or 4 years with ACE. So and also for co-hosting these sessions, and of course to all the distinguished and followable speakers for today that you are also sparing your time for this event. As you know that right now in ASEAN, the economics continue to grow and our energy demand is expected to nearly almost 3 times doubled if we in 2050 if we compare in 2022. The challenge before us is very clear. We must ensure that this growth is powered by clean, reliable, and also affordable energy as a part of our energy security. Um, we invite you also this afternoon. We will launch the next phase of the ASEAN Plan of Actions for Energy Cooperation, 2026-2025, And from that document, you will understand that we also set the regional visions to advance energy security, accessibility, affordability, and sustainability across the ASEAN member states. We are trying to achieving this vision requires, of course, whole of society approach. Governments here must create, of course, the enabling frameworks. Industry must adopt the innovative things, technologies, business models, and of course, the financiers must mobilize your capital that makes our ambitions become reality. So it's like a collaborative works. It cannot be just a part of the government or maybe just the companies itself. So we are in the ASEAN Center for Energy. We also believe that this kind of platform, this is the best way from us to make a kind of like a melting pot where all the governments can sit together with the private sectors, with the international organizations, develop dialogue partners, everybody, and let's talk about these beautiful regions. Across ASEAN, we also witnessing a surge of a corporate demand of the clean energy from manufacturers. I think the demand of the, for example, like a data centers now they are requiring all the green things because their headquarters in the let's say U.S. or in Europe. They said you must make this clean source as the your energy. So to make again this region is more competitive, the clean energy is also become the more economic for these regions. A frameworks, of course, like corporate power purchase agreements or utility green tariffs and others become one of very important mechanism that can help turn these ambitions into bankable and scalable projects. Again, as an ASEAN's intergovernmental organizations, we are in ACE, we are committed to support our ASEAN member states and of course the companies, because we believe that the companies, I mean the private sectors that can mobilize this movement. I always believe that the industries become the first initiation of the innovations and generate the technology, and also not only that, it also can mobilize the funding to make some things happen and more reliable. The ASEAN Power Grid is very famous here because we also know by this ASEAN Power Grid, we can connect each country by other countries and we can also improve the deployment of the renewable energy. So we really appreciate the initiative and also all the works from the ACEC, our partners. And we will also look forward, hopefully, with this ACEC, ACE also can create more a better ecosystem for the, especially for the corporate, for the private, to have the support also from the government to know what's the best arrangement for both, for all the parties. I think I close my remarks there. Again, thank you so much, Suji, for the support. Also, for the participation in the ABF. Hopefully, we can make another create more good things ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. for those forward-looking remarks. At this moment, the Asia Clean Energy Coalition would like to present a token of appreciation to the ASEAN Center of Energy in recognition of our continued collaboration and joint efforts in advancing corporate renewable energy pathways across the region. May I kindly invite once again Ms. Suji Kang and Dr. Andy to come forward to the stage for a presentation of a token of appreciation. Thank you very much. Now, to set the scene for our discussion today, we'll now hear from the ASEAN Center for Energy on the region's renewable energy outlook and the evolving frameworks enabling corporate procurement. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Monika Merdekawati, Senior Analyst for Sustainable and Renewable Energy at ACE, to share key insights from the ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation APAEC 2026 to 2030 and ASEAN's pathways toward corporate renewable energy participation. Ms. Monika, the floor is yours.
Hello, good morning. It is my pleasure to provide the scene. I think it is helpful to giving the foundation for the exciting conversation that you will have today with the panelists. So, my name is Monika. I will kind of give you the teaser of what would be in the renewable energy long-term roadmap that will be launched this afternoon, I believe. So to start with, as we know, like maybe this is something that we have been announcing throughout the event that we are launching the new regional energy blueprint, what's so called the ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation for the next 5 years. And here, the APAEC is actually guided by this modeling exercise that we do, in which it give the uh, the what the reference on how actually the region could transition in a more ambitious, but at the same time it's actually plausible. So that's what's the modeling exercise that we do in the roadmap try to convey. uh, it helps the APAEC to kind of consider with the ministers and also the senior official for the regional RE target by the 2030, which is the 30% of TPS, and also equivalent with the, actually equivalent is a bit higher if you look deeper in the roadmap, but this is the number that agreed by the minister later for the what the RE target of in terms of installed capacity, which is 45% by 2030. So here, as you can see in the graph, by the next 10 year, energy transition will be driven by the renewables in the power sector for sure. Due to the mature and cost competitive technology with the solar, wind, so on and so forth. So this graph is like in the TPS. You will see in the roadmap that it's actually very much driven by the power sector. However, post 2035 power sector is not enough. Like later you will also see that the projection after the 2035, the needed installed capacity will plateau. That's when the deeper integration with the transport and sector coupling with the industry become very much important. Uh, yeah, this is the third point that I would like to convey. And then, so, okay, a lot of numbers, but what I would like to highlight is actually by 2030, according to our modeling exercise, which guides this APAEC document, you will see in the yellow circle, and also please focus on the pink and the green color. Yeah, you will see that actually RE, including the VRE, will reach 50%. So, and if to consider also the needed storage to back up this increase of RE and VRE, it is actually goes beyond the 50%. And how exactly in terms of nominal of installed capacity, as you can see in the up bar figure, and then so the regional strategic direction is clear that we need to ramp up the build out of the clean electricity supply that coming from solar, wind, hydro, like you see in the blue color here, and also of course to back it up is the battery and biomass, and also what's interesting is the needed solar rooftop. So why? So it actually or maybe another clarification that our modeling exercise, although like you will also later hear what kind of definition between scenario and so forth. But this actually reflects the recent PDP announcement of like the most updated PDP that the ASEAN member states has, and majorly driven, like for example, the recent PDP launch of the Vietnam and also Indonesia this year. So it actually captures also the ambition that actually already echoed by the member states that as a country, as a region, we need to increase the clean electricity to capture the corporate demand towards this green energy. So this is the signal that comes from this figure also. And with that consequence or the implication, it's basically reordering the fundamental definition of the grid system planning, because now, and especially by 2030, it will become the majority, even surpassing the fossil fuel. So it's not about fossil fuel, not about RE supporting the operation with the fossil fuel as the base of the operation, but it's the other way around. We need to start thinking about this on the grid improvement, so on and so forth. So this is to highlight, like, by this APAEC, the next five years, VRE become the largest capacity mix, around 30%. And if to combine with the storage is 53%, and the needed annual average investment from our modeling exercise is 77 billion across this different technology, including the fossil fuel. And in the long term, by 2045, the VRE, baseload RE, and storage will reach 70%. And how is actually relates for the core of our discussion on the RE procurement. So if to this is, we are trying to divine it on the supply side, which is the need of access to the infrastructure development, because we need to develop such a big capacity build out of RE, new capacity. And also on the demand side is actually to allow the corporate to be able to access in procuring this green electricity. So from our hypothesis lah, the transformation needs to happen from what so-called the status quo of this power electricity model, which is very much centered on the government and state-owned planning and also funding, right? But maybe with this rapid needs of the capacity build out, yeah, maybe it's time to open up a bit to kind of allow the financing sources coming from private, so on and so forth. And on the demand side, that's come I believe the discussion of the RE procurement to ensure this build out of the clean electricity actually accessible for the corporate in the most easiest way lah. So like it actually give the robust environment for the investment. Of course, that's the core objective of why we built this clean electricity to begin with. And it's actually already ongoing. Like the member states is actually already, so there are several champions that already implementing this kind of schemes, from the virtual PPA, direct PPA, on-site PPA, UGT, REC, and also cross-border RE procurement, hopefully, with the several pilots, of course. And yeah, this is from the national and regional. And yeah, so this is just to show you the mapping lah on what existing. So it's already emerging practice, and I believe the panelists that are invited is actually the correct person to share how it is in the national level, like the key drivers for the CPPA and also the challenges. So I'm just stating here, but yeah, I believe the discussion will cover it later, right? Like maybe to highlight on the challenge, actually the readiness of the regulation and also the related stakeholder in implementing the third-party access and also financing and bankability of the RE project, and diverse market states and rules to make, like, in the context of the cross-border, yeah, it needs like different layer of the harmonization. And this is what's existing in the Vietnam, Malaysia, and Thailand. Vietnam with the DPPA, Malaysia, I believe the panel know more than me about the different schemes, the NEM, GET, CGPP, CRES, and also Thailand with the UGT. And this is, I don't want to go into detail because the panelists will be much more knowledgeable than me. But in Thailand, this is the UGT scheme works with the So it has two types for defined for different tariff of the RE resources. And also the key components of the UGT service is the RE source allocation, UGT platform arrangement unit that administers the REC allocation, and the bundled REC. So in the Malaysia context, but I don't want to talk much because I believe the expert letter will be much more reliable to clarify on this issue. So you can find the resource in the publication by the Energy Commission of Malaysia on the CRES and also the NEDA. And basically this is the flow of the interaction from the RE developer with the single buyer, the grid system operator, the TNB retail, TNB grid, and also the green consumer. And with that, I hope this is a helpful presentation, and I wish a fruitful discussion, and I look forward to learn also from the panel later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Monika, for that insightful presentation and for grounding our discussion in the regional perspective. To complement ACE's perspective, we'll now hear from the Asia Clean Energy Coalition on the corporate viewpoint, exploring how companies across Asia are approaching renewable energy procurement and what policy frameworks can help accelerate their participation. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Emma Saraf, Head of Policy for Asia at the Asia Clean Energy Coalition, to share ASEC's perspective on corporate procurement of renewable energy in Asia. Emma?
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, everyone. First, I must begin by saying you can tell I've been speaking too much over the past handful of weeks because my voice has been almost completely gone for about a week now. But I was thinking that since it is the month of October, I hope you can all imagine that I'm doing some kind of horror movie character to be on theme or something like that. So please do bear with me. But with that out of the way, thank you so much for attending this session. It's really our privilege to be here. Thank you to Dr. Andy and to Monika for that wonderful scene-setting presentation. This is a remarkable city and a remarkable room. It's a pleasure, really, to be among so many professionals that are motivated by the clean energy transition, not just its challenges, but also the opportunities that it affords to improve our economies, our environment, and the well-being of generations present and future. So my name is Emma Saraf. I'm here with the Asia Clean Energy Coalition, and it's really my privilege again to introduce ASEC and to introduce as well some of our work in the region with a focus on our recommendations and perspectives on procurement and how to scale procurement in Asia. So first, for those of you who are encountering us for the first time, I'd like to say a few brief words about ASEC. ASEC was launched in 2022 by three organizations, Climate Group, the World Resource Institute, and the Global Wind Energy Council, in collaboration with a group of world-leading renewable energy buyers and developers. The goal here, as Dr. Andy identified, was really to respond to the opportunity, the need, the demand for renewable energy in Asia, and to enable transformative policy for renewable energy procurement in Asia. As they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So here you have 10,000 words worth of photographs. I won't belabor the point excessively, but just to say that in the years since its inception, ASEC has worked collaboratively together with a range of stakeholders, both public and private, to really bring forth our recommendations and again, to enable transformative policy. So you can see here a handful of shots from those engagements where we really sought to bring together industry and government perspectives to build credible, accessible, cost-effective options for procurement in Asia. First, I want to say that throughout the course of this work, we have identified three broad categories of challenges, which I'm sure are no mystery to the group of you here. The first, and this is the one that I'll be focusing on here today, is the limited options for procurement. ASEC does focus on a diversified menu of procurement options, as our program director indicated previously. We have also noticed that in the region, there are a handful of other challenges, so notably the lack of supply of renewable energy on the grid. Of course, if there is nothing available, then it's difficult to procure. And then naturally, of course, the gaps in grid infrastructure is something that we've identified in various priority markets as well. So why do we focus on procurement as ASEC? Why is procurement such an important topic? It is, in fact, related to this set of challenges. What we've identified, and I'm sure what many of you have seen, and I think what Monika very correctly identified as well, is that procurement allows for consumers to flexibly and adaptively meet their own energy needs. And then this sends a signal to developers. It gives them a clear signal to build their own capacity, and ultimately, regional grids really benefit from the jobs, the investment, and importantly, the avoided emissions from this new capacity. So we can really see how procurement is one of the most powerful tools at our disposal to really decarbonize regional grids, which is ultimately why we are all here. So that's why we are focused on this, to provide a win, not just for one group of consumers, but really for all consumers of energy, which is really all of us, and to decarbonize our communities. So building on that first challenge that was identified in the previous slide, the limited options for procurement. As many of you know, today in Asia, many markets do not have readily accessible multiple modes of procurement. As I said previously, ASEC does support a diversified menu of procurement options, so we don't focus on any one particular procurement option. This is because different consumers have different needs. But I do want to bring to your attention some recommendations that we have developed together with the Clean Energy Buyers Association, specifically on CPPA, Corporate Power Purchase Agreements, and UGT, Utility Green Tariffs. But also to note that we do also explore the importance of bundled recs. This is particularly relevant for cross-border electricity trade, which is something that my colleague Henry leads as part of the work in ASEC. Okay. So here you have a QR code on the far left-hand side to our most recent paper, which is again on recommendations for CPPA, developed together with SEBA, which is a US-based organization with strong technical expertise rooted in the American context. So we worked together with them to bring both the US and the Asia-based perspectives on CPPA. Also to note that we produced together again with SEBA last year a paper on UGT, and indeed we have a number of knowledge products within ASEC, and I want to again indicate the QR code, which will take you to a page that also has links to all of these other papers. Previously this year, we did also develop a regional paper which seeks to highlight the socioeconomic benefits of the decarbonization and of clean energy transition in Asia. So would really recommend that you take a look at this particular paper as well. Okay, so now let's get into the recommendations from the two papers that I have previously mentioned. First, beginning with our paper on utility green tariffs, or UGTs, which is one option in a menu of procurement options. So as many of you already know, a UGT is a voluntary utility program that allows eligible customers to buy both the associated energy attribute certificate and the energy for a specified clean energy project, either as an independent tariff or as an adjustment on the customer's energy bill. So what you can see is that we have developed together, again with SEBA, a set of guiding principles that can serve to inform best design practices for UGT. So I'll go through each of these in turn. First, this is something that utilities can consider. So for your reference, utilities could offer green tariffs that fund new, verified, clean energy built for participating customers. So this would allow us to drive new clean energy projects. Second, specified and traceable resources. Utilities could consider enabling customers to choose projects with clear details on a range of criteria, including but not limited to type, size, location, and operational date. And then third, we have transparent and fair pricing. Utilities could consider providing stable, competitive, clear, transparent rates that do reflect the true project costs that are therefore cost reflective. And then last but not least, we have our fourth recommendation here, our fourth guiding principle for UGT, and that is consumer choice and impact. Utilities could consider offering flexible, high impact options such as mixed technology options that are inclusive, for instance, of storage. All of this in collaboration with customers allows utilities to build meaningful relationships with customers. So this is one reason that we really seek to elevate the importance of UGT for many different markets across Asia. So again, really welcome your thoughts on our paper on UGT, which again is available in the previous slide. And we do highlight examples from American markets, but also some markets based in Asia, including, for instance, Japan. There's a UGT based out of TEPCO in Tokyo that we highlight in the paper specifically. Okay, Now moving quickly on to CPPA, I'd like to spend the rest of the time talking about CPPA and the recommendations from our most recent paper. So here you have first a definition of PPAs, which I'm sure many of you are already familiar with. PPAs enable corporate clean energy buyers to enter into long-term contracts with developers or generators for a price per megawatt of electricity generated from a clean energy project. Again, we have a set of guiding star, sort of North Star principles that can help inform the design of a CPPA framework for your reference and for your consideration. And I'll go through each of these in turn. So our first guiding principle is scalability and accessibility. And here we have two main components. The first is that PPA frameworks should avoid arbitrary quotas or caps on transaction volumes. And the second is in reference to customer eligibility. So PPA frameworks should offer flexible load size across a range of sectors, which enables customers of all types, of all sizes, from all sectors to transact via a PPA. Our second guiding principle is clarity and flexibility to transact. And here there are two items that I'd like to highlight. So first is that PPA programs should include clear frameworks for EACs, accounting treatment, this is particularly important for VPPAs, and effective settlement mechanisms to support uptake and financial viability. And I'll expand on that last point now. So, for example, a surplus power sellback provision is particularly useful in the context of physical PPAs, and in the context of virtual PPAs, a two-way settlement framework, a CFD between buyers and sellers, is something that we would like to recommend be established to support the financial viability of these projects. And then last but very much not least, we have a third guiding principle here, and this is transparent and competitive market rules and pricing. So here, what we recommend in the paper together with SEBA is that PPAs should be supported by robust electricity market constructs that ensure cost effectiveness through a variety of means, including third-party access to the grid, which is something that Monika also kindly identified in her presentation, competitive and transparent, clear pricing, and fair, detailed, and predictable charges. So, for example, something that we talk about in Asia is wheeling and balancing fees and how we can ensure that these are stable, non-discriminatory, and again, cost reflective. That is, that they accurately reflect the cost of delivering clean electricity to the buyer. So again, these are just a set of recommendations for your consideration, for your reference, and they are all reflected in our paper. You can see as well that we have a number of case studies based on the Asian context in the paper itself. They're of course Malaysia, Japan, South Korea, and Vietnam. So really welcome your thoughts, your feedback on this paper, and would be great if you would continue the conversation. With that, I will have the final slide here, just with a set of takeaways. I hope you feel persuaded in the nature of the work, which is that supportive policy for procurement delivers real avoided emissions, real decarbonization, and that fundamentally is why we are all here. In particular, CPPAs and UDTs allow utilities, policymakers, build relationships with customers, and indeed allow an opportunity for the private sector to invest in communities in Asia, something also that the ASEAN Center for Energy highlighted in previous presentations, and something that all consumers ultimately benefit from. All consumers benefit from cleaner, from more affordable energy, and most importantly, again, the reason why we're all here today is that communities ultimately benefit. All communities are consumers of energy, and communities do benefit through the jobs that these projects bring, through the investments that these projects bring, and most importantly, from the reduced emissions that they bring. Thanks very much for your attention. I hope this was useful and very much looking forward to the exciting and informative panel.
Thank you, Emma, for those valuable insights and for highlighting how corporate action and policy can mutually stabilize scale renewable energy across Asia. We will now turn our focus to Malaysia, which has shown strong leadership in advancing renewable energy programs and enabling new corporate procurement pathways. It is my pleasure to invite Yang Bahagia Tuan Haji IR Rosli bin Isman, Director of Industry Planning and Development at the Energy Commission of Malaysia, Suruhan Jaya Tenaga, to share Malaysia's leadership and experience in renewable energy programs. Tuan?
With me tonight, by my side. I'm sorry for this clash, I wish I could make it without cries and fights. I know I can be insane if you don't believe me.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And thank you. And again, thank you to all of you to be here today to listening what the regulator was said, talking about the energy green. Hopefully from my presentation today, you can get some idea, something what Matthew said, we call Malaysia as a leader for the renewable energy, but we try to share with you what our project that we are having done. Hopefully can share which among ASEAN country or the projects. Firstly, before we set the regulator, we quite important thing for the regulator is to ensure that we normally when before we said that one is a project RE can be we call it set up in our country must we go to energy trilemma. Energy trilemma quite important to regulator as regulator because set the what project we need to I call implement in our country because from energy trilemma we can balance of three parties, balance of three trilemma, talking about the sustainability, security, and talking about affordability. That's quite important to regulator to set all whatever idea from the industry talking about the renewable energy concept. Okay. Okay, this some things last before this we call I think last weeks our Prime Minister they said made some announcement to support our industry on our industry in our country. This talking about we have target in our government have target 70% RE in Malaysia for by year 2050. This is our target, quite clear. So we need to put a program to ensure that target 70% RE mix in our energy mix by year 2050 can be achievable. So that's why this one another we have set target here net zero 2050. We have the 30% in 2035, 40% 2035, and 70% 2050. Currently, based on 31% our target net zero by 2035 already achieved. But we need to go forward to looking for the 35, 40% RE in our country, target 40%. But we believe we can achieve that one with proper planning or proper something close working together with the government and the private sector. We hope we believe that one can achieve 40% and we can get the 70% by year 2050. Okay, that's important. Important here. This one coordination between private sector and government quite important because mostly the government more on focus on the policy and guideline. We have all those things. After that, the corporate or industry need to support with the investment. So without the cooperation between corporate and government, I think our target for 70% in year 2050 and the global target for the net zero carbon it's very difficult to achieve that we call the target. So that's why we need cooperation between the government and the corporate sector. Okay, this talking we also see the government so talking fund national energy transition fund 150 million, but the fund is quite small actually. But the one may be starting from the government, they need to support maybe for small industry they can look this fund, they can use this fund for support their RE program. And we talking about for the 2050 we need something so need invest some 1.3 trillion again by the government endorsement and talking about 300,000 jobs we will create on RE by year 2050. This is our Malaysia target to achieve that level. So that's why we put initiative more on the RE program in our country. Okay, and we continue to this is something I think we know about this. You can see from the our NETA project. We have a NETA program, National Energy Transition Roadmap. They're talking about what is our program for the our RE. Malaysia has launched a National Energy Transition Roadmap last 2 years, I think, so known as a non-NETA. They outline actionable strategies and target to achieve we call declaration while maintaining energy security, economic growth listing. Just mentioned before that talking about our target 31% by 2035, 40% by 2035, and we should target something talking about the solar in 2050. We target 58%. By 2050, you can see the 58% by solar in our country. This is quite big compared to the 2002. 2022, currently we have only 12%. still far to get to going to that level, 50%. This is quite. I can imagine what happened to our country if we put solar 58% or 56 gig, 56 gigawatt solar in our country. India 2050. This is the target based on the National Energy Transition Roadmap. Okay, still far to go there because currently 2025 we have another 25 years to reach that level of the 50%, 58% or 56 gigawatt solar in our energy mix. This is very challenging to government, and so that's why we need to policymaker, as regulator, as energy commission, need to think how to make this NETA program, NETA roadmap to be happen. Because something big amount target by the NETA, but this is something good for the country because we have planning, we have the roadmap, all those things. So just regulator just follow the roadmap what set by the government. This is something policy. One need as regulator we need to support the policy set by government. Okay. Okay, this is a program that we call Malaysia has put in, to support this renewable energy in our country. We have something. Sorry, cannot see. Fit and tariff. First, in year 2000, we already start the project. Okay, Malaysia effort to incorporate renewable energy began in early 2000s and have steadily progressed over the years. Our initiative and programs were laid out to allow better access to green electricity for consumers. We already said all the programs start from the year 2000. And to accelerate the take-up, NEM scheme has been revised from NEM 1, NEM 2 in 2019 and NEM 2021 and NEM 3 in 2021, net energy metering. So you can see the one. We have free tariff 1,154 megawatt, and large scale solar. We have already offer to the industry to support this project solar 6,229 megawatt, and this solar from solar LS1 until now this is until LS5 plus, and coming maybe next year, this will still under discussion and planning. We will launch another LS6 for 2 gig. Maybe that one we hybrid with the battery. This is something just now is discussion with the as regulator discuss all things. Then we planning to launch this new large scale solar project all thing in early next year. So back then we have hybrid battery. So that's why battery so play the important role to support this RE program in our country. Hopefully because we target every year something 2,000 megawatt or 2 gig every year we need install to solar. So that's why this is the program that we are planning to. And also we have NEM already 10 megawatt offered to the we call consumers, and Selco we have 911 megawatt, and now we also amend Selco every time. Selco is self-consumption. Self-consumption that you can install at the industrial area. Currently we have 911 megawatt on the time, but now we will extend our Selco project more than that. I think so. We also have program amend our guideline. We need to put more Selco at the rooftop. We also talking about put the battery. So that's why we can now Selco they can install Selco at the rooftop with battery. So to support, because last time Selco only some area, but now you can no limitation anymore. You can install more than what you want, but must include the battery to firm the supply to the grid. And NEM 2, as mentioned just now, we have a NEM 2 for about 3 megawatt and NEM 3 1723 megawatt. This every year we amend to support the need for the public, and new program will be launched by government. We call it ATAP, ATAP. ATAP is under the new something similar to NEM project for rooftop. Last time the NEM maybe NEM you use post your energy and you sell whatever balance you have to the grid based on 1-to-1 tariff. But now I think in ATAP we still discuss use energy first, and after that the balance you can sell to the market. This is what our planning for the ATAP. Something strategy our study need to look to, but still discussion. But I think so we can finalize around something this December we can penalize the ATAP guideline, and after that we can offer to all the public, all the commercial can use the NEM project, and that based on ATAP. Because requirement quite mostly the consumer need more. They want install more solar at their rooftop, but now no more limitation. Last time limit and only at the rooftop, but this for the ATAP maybe can something we need to install at the area of the boundary of the housing area, so that they can allow to do more than that. And this is another project we need we consider to introduce for next end of this year and next year by the LS 6. And this so project that we are based on the NETA, Malaysia for to expand RE based NETA, we have the solar CGBP, and the project that we introduced to the we call it industry. We are talking so CGBP, corporate lupa the name corporate green power CGP, corporate green power program, and cross border CBES. So we introduced to sell our energy to Singapore. But the name CBES we call selling we call green to Singapore by Energem. Currently we have Energem 1. This part use the we call the guideline that we publish CBES. And so we call CRESS. This I think industry quite interesting on the CRESS, because after this Mr. you asked me to stay there to discuss closed door thing for the CRESS thing. CRESS is something similar with the Thailand talking about CRESS. That's Thailand CPP all thing. The industry can sign agreement between developer, and they can buy energy from developer. I think similar with the Thailand concept. Just not talking presented by the one of the speaker just now, but they just pay the willing charge only. Willing charge. I think this is quite response from mostly from the data center, quite good so far the response. So here we can get some for the CRESS deal, but we just starting, right? We don't know, because last time I think we complain from the industry that talking about CRESS last time. We just say here fee CRESS on the wheel charges 20%, but now government hear the comment from the industry. They need cheaper wheelie charges, so that's why government also discuss again and look back those things based on because of the charges CRESS wheelie charges. We how to calculate based on the RP we call RP4 based tariff, because we have tariff RP 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those things we have all the mechanism inside the RP those things. So we because just recently government introduced new tariff for electricity, and we also reduced the wheeling charges for the CRESS 20 cents with the battery. With the battery 40%. Hopefully this number to call charges that we introduced by government, that we introduced, when we can industry can support our CRESS system to implement toward the RE technology. Okay, the cream. Cell consumption, the one is this just guideline just mentioned to you. We also put and amend our new guideline, Cellco. Last time Cellco only for the rooftop, but now Cellco they can install more than that. The boundary of the industry they can install that with the battery just I mentioned to you. And the cream they because demand from because the CRESS more focused on the high voltage and medium voltage. They call but the low voltage consumer, the ask government why not you introduce another system to the low voltage consumer. So that's why we are thinking about that. We are develop the cream. That means the cream just but the radius only for 5 kilometer. They can put solar in their rooftop, and they can sell to then they must have one aggregator and sell in the energy to the the park or something, we call business center nearby between 5 kilometer at this moment. But maybe after this, if we see we can something bring about, we need to amend those things. Maybe can go to more than 5 kilometers. It depends on what I will study before later. But currently, for starting, we just only allow for 5 kilometer radius for the cream activity for the low voltage consumer only. Okay. Okay, this is a total RE in our country already installed. We have not only the solar, we also talking about the hydro, talking about the biomass, mini hydro and WTE. Currently, our capacity installed 9,000 megawatt, near to 10 gigs. And hydro play the, we call operational. It is operational. Just now installed 6,000 already, but already operational. 2,000 megawatt. We don't know the solar. Solar already installed 6,000. Just now I mentioned to you, but now the operation 5,600 megawatts. But the rest are something solar LS5 and 5 plus is still in construction. Hopefully, we target the 2027, you can achieve that the target more than 6,000. Okay, and biomass we have 575 megawatt, and recently government so announced another 400 megawatt biomass. Recently by Prime Minister, they're talking about we need to extra more put the 400 megawatt for support these RE activities in our country. Okay, and mini hydro, and we saw biogas, and so talking about hydro. But in Peninsula Hydro, quite small, because we don't have much hydro, so mostly from the Sarawak. So that's why the hydro quite little bit slow. But we don't have wind. This is our challenge because no what winds. If new technology coming in our country in future, maybe we can use wind as one of the resource for the toward RE target 2070% net zero. Okay. Okay, this another part it's important thing is something mentioned by our one speaker talking about the APG, ASEAN Power Grid. This is quite important too. As we really support APG to make our we call 70% happen in our country, so that we try to get energy from the maybe currently we discuss from the Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia, Singapore. Yeah, there's 2,000 megawatt. Maybe we can get the what we call energy from the Vietnam wind energy from Vietnam and supply to the currently we have only LTMS PIP. Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore already there, and just yesterday talking about the LTMS2 signing new agreement, new something willing to sell we call energy from Laos to Singapore, and also to the regional country, and hopefully this LPG second is Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore, and recently our Prime Minister announced that Petronas and Tenaga Nasional will work together to discuss with the among ASEAN country, especially in Vietnam and Singapore, to make this we call the VMS project happen. That means they can deliver and flow the energy from Vietnam go to the Singapore and go to Malaysia, because we have target 2,000 megawatt and 700 go to Peninsula, and more than that, less than just 1,000 talking about selling to Singapore. This is our VMS project, right? And we also have Energem, just mentioned to you. Energem currently 50 megawatt every day by from Singapore, green, because this what we agree with the Singapore and already happened, and hopefully Energem 2, if respond for Singapore, they need more Energem, you can sell back, you can sell more to Singapore on the green, okay, the green electricity. And last, what the government as regulator we to support this RE program toward the net zero by year 2050 or 70% RE. They talking. Government just recently last year they're talking about the Parliament approved the Energy Efficiency Commission Act. This is quite important because not only for RE, it is also play a main role to support our target on the RE net zero year by year 2050. Okay, we have RE. They're talking about the large energy consumer buildings, all covered by we call the EECA. That means all the building need to at least they have their you call the energy efficiency mechanism or mechanism or something equipment to install at the building. If they don't install, they need to the government will penalize or penalty to that company, because they don't support. We need all the buildings support the program on the energy efficiency buildings. So that's why in next future maybe they will call whatever buildings need to set up or need to design, they must follow the EECA called guideline, all this thing. Okay, this currently since 2025 we have launched the energy efficiency. We have saved 2016 until 2024. We currently we continue saving since based on the energy efficiency we save something ringgit Malaysia 13 billion. Can you imagine? Just I think 10 years, not 10 years, 8 years. That's quite important to Malaysia because we can save near to 14 billion in terms of ringgit Malaysia. And gigawatt, we save on the net 60 gigawatt hour. Yeah, this I think is a good achievement from the energy efficiency program. But that one, before that is before the law not coming yet. But hopefully, because the law coming this year, hopefully we can get more oil industry building need to support to install the EE, you call it Prisma in the building or thing. Maybe we can get more than that. Maybe we can get 20 billion or what or something, the 3 billion, 4 billion every year. These are the target by the government also. Okay. Okay, this conclusion lah. Okay, we have our program is now to RE, EE, and a conclusion in conclusion Malaysia journey toward sustainable net zero carbon can be achieved if government, corporate sector, stakeholder, and regional partner continue to collaborate and innovate. The national transition roadmap set a clear direction with robust target and for renewable energy adoption grid, modernization, and cross-border cooperation through initiatives such as ASEAN Power Grid and LTMS and mungkin BMS and also maybe the energy thing. And corporate role will essentially be in driving play roles very very important role to support our target on 70%. And then lastly, we have a CRES all the things that already what you call introduced by government, and we will hopefully the CRES program will success, and we will again because of demand and because of the industry need to know more about the CRES, we will again amend and maybe possible because that's just we can look back all those things. Okay, with that I say thank you. This is our my presentation as a regulator, and we will again think again, and we need to see again because target 50% solar. So we need to think again what the new project we need to introduce in our country and to support the target net zero by year 2050. And again, thank you.
Thank you very much, Tuan Haji Rosli, for that insightful presentation on Malaysia's leadership in renewable energy. And now we move to the highlight of today's session, our panel discussion on empowering ASEAN's energy transition, corporate pathways to renewable energy. As mentioned earlier, this discussion will bring together policymakers, corporate leaders, and industry experts to explore how ASEAN can unlock credible, scalable, and investable models for corporate renewable energy procurement. To guide this conversation, please join me in welcoming our moderator, Mr. Henry Yu, Head of Policy and Development for Singapore and Malaysia at the Asia Clean Energy Coalition. Henry? And joining Henry on the panel are Yang Bahagia Tuan Haji IR Rosli bin Isman, Director of Industry Planning and Development, Energy Commission of Malaysia, or Suruhanjaya Tenaga. Ms. Sophie Ribas, Senior Lead Energy Market Development at Google. Ms. Jane Tay, Head of PPA Organization and Energy Offtake at IB Vault. And lastly, Mr. Michael Martin, Head of Energy and Environment at Princeton Digital Group. Please join me in welcoming all of our distinguished panelists to the stage. Henry, over to you.
Good afternoon. It's past 12 p.m., so it's soon to be lunch. I do know that we are a bit tight of time, but I was speaking to them. I think we do have time until 12:35, 12:40. We really have a lot to cover, but do stay here, and we will unpack a lot of good questions, as you can see from our star panelists here. So I'd just like to start off with the panel. I would just like to ask, could each of you just share briefly your organization's sustainability and clean energy goals? So for example, what are the key pathways to advance clean energy in the region from a perspective, from a data center hyperscaler perspective, or even from a developer's perspective? So Tuan, if we can start with you.
Thank you, Henry. I think just present just now that our goals on the energy transition based on we have the national roadmap, we have the national target. We are looking for 70% RE and net zero carbon by year 2050. As regulator, that's very important to regulator because already set by the policy government talking about 70% RE and net zero by year 2050. So as regulator, the important thing we need to how to make sure that one call it in line in our needs. We have go back to the trilemma, energy trilemma. We have energy trilemma talking about the affordability, sustainability, and security. That's quite important to regulator before we set which program we need to introduce or which program we need to implement in our country. This is quite important, but we support totally on our program on our policy made by the government on the 70% RE and net zero by 2050. And we have many programs that just introduced in the slide just now. We also introduced FIT, firstly FIT, and we're talking about the NEM 1, NEM 2, and NEM 3. We're already talking about the coming in new end of this year. We're talking about ATAP, the other program similar to NEM, but different because of the how to selling the energy to the industry. You use post, you can sell also to the industry, but based on the market price. But the one is still discuss how to determine the market price on the solar. Currently, we have the market price on the thermal, but solar we still don't have the market price. So that's why it's still discussed because solar mostly only for hours. The thermal you can get 30 hours. You can put the market which one you can use. That's why we have a SMP for thermal, but we don't have SMP for the solar. So that's why we will focus this for the new program. ATAP, we call it accelerated something. I can't remember the name. It's something like the name 4 Name 4 just limited some call program. Some limitation of the call megawatt just on the rooftop, small rooftop. But the ATAP you can install more than that. And currently just now government talk this budget last 2 weeks they talking about another 500 megawatt for this project. This is something that keep up with the tool too. And Selco is still another we call another program that be very important to the government because industry need to Selco. Selco need to do they use I think self-consumption. They install solar and they can use to just about the power for himself. So Selco currently at this one the old guideline only allow at the rooftop, but not because industry need to more Selco. And limitation only 85% from the maximum demand. But now you can store more than that. Currently, the new Selco we introduced, you can store more than that. More than you can store 100% you talk, and you also can install at the ground mounted near to your area. That's why this is another initiative that we did. But they need to install battery because we don't want to interrupt the system, right? They need to install battery. The Selco, install, and you can I don't know if the industry the data center they need to install solar and battery together. At least they can because we don't want we call the interrupt we call the grid system, right? So that's why our suggestion. Okay, Selco we amend now. The previous Selco different as coming the Selco different. They can store more data. And so equally LSS. LSS quite support very good. But currently we have the 5, 6. LSS every year we talking about 2 gig, and this is about target on the because to achieve the 58% solar in a year by 2050. But about at this next year we will introduce solar with the battery hybrid. but still think too, because based on the where you want to go to, is it by zonal or by, because we issue on the nodal point, we issue the transmission point. So that's why you need to look together with the we call tenaga net utility company to balance which nodal point that suit for this new zonal is okay or something. We this is something thinking, we are thinking, but we hopefully this and our early next year we can finalize our discussion and we can get a solution what the type the ASEC we need to introduce to the country. This is something under the program pathway, and this totally government support for the RE toward the zero net carbon by year 2050. Thank you.
Good one. Next on to Sophie.
Thank you. Let me maybe just start off by thanking both ACE and ASEC for inviting me here today to share a little bit about Google's clean energy goals and our journey. I'd start off by saying that in many ways, our clean energy journey started back in 2010 when we signed our first corporate PPA in the United States. 7 years later, in 2017, we started matching 100% of our electricity use with renewable energy purchases. And this is something that we've continued to do every year since. And then in 2020, we sort of set ourselves a new North Star, which is to operate on 24/7 carbon-free energy. And what that means is essentially to source carbon-free energy every hour of the day, 365 days a year on every grid where we operate. So alongside with this 24/7 carbon-free energy goal, Google also aims to aims to achieve net zero emissions across our operations and value chain by 2030. And to the second part of your question, I would say we're focused on making progress on solutions and pathways that really align with the decarbonization needs of the grids where we operate. So we spend quite a bit of time thinking about how different technologies can work together and create portfolios of solutions that deliver around the clock clean energy to the grids where we are operating. And here, mature technologies, as Monika's presentation rightfully pointed to, like solar and wind, play a really foundational role. So it's really important that we continue to accelerate the deployment of these solar and wind resources and also maximize their use because they're absolutely foundational to decarbonizing our grids and corporate loads as well. And then in conjunction with that, with solar and wind, in order to realize 24/7 decarbonization at the lowest possible cost, we're also going to need clean, firm, and dispatchable resources, technologies. And so in many ways, our progress so far in the region reflects this and also takes into account the unique grid and resource conditions of each market. So maybe just to share very briefly a few examples from the last couple of years, we've definitely tailored some solar and wind solutions in the Asia Pacific region. We, from aggregating hundreds of really small solar projects across Japan, which is land constrained, to in Taiwan striking our first offshore wind PPA and also supporting the development of a new 1 gigawatt pipeline of solar capacity in the country. And then in conjunction with that, we've also entered in first-of-a-kind deals for baseload power, including a geothermal PPA in Taiwan, which really aims to catalyze the market. And also committing to offtake from a sustainable biomass power plant that's also equipped with a pilot technology for carbon capture in Singapore. So I think it's really about understanding the local conditions and then really thinking creatively around impactful solutions.
Thank you, Sophie. It's very, very interesting to hear all hands on deck on the solutions and technologies from geothermal, wood waste in Singapore. Thank you for sharing. I'll pass it on to Jane from IB Road.
Okay, as a developer, I would say that our clean energy goals is to really make the clean energy goal of the Energy Commission, Malaysia,
Google as well as PDG's energy goals come true in a sustainable way and in a economical way, I would say, right? So having batteries into getting more and more batteries into the solar power plant as a hybrid, I think is really the very right thing to do. And I'm really glad and appreciate Malaysia taking this leadership in this Southeast Asia region by, pushing for the battery storage systems to be co-located together with the solar power plants. I would say that moving forward, what is very important in order for us to achieve the ambition of 24 by 7, these are very high bars that these guys are setting, and we are really here to support them and to make sure that we can reach them sooner rather than later. So I was thinking one of the ways in which we can do that is really to look at hybrid plants no longer as just an addition, but looking at it as a one system. It really is just one system: solar plus battery or wind plus battery, one entire system. How we look at that? How can policy, certainty, and regulatory framework help to support and reinforce this, so that when we talk about PPAs, all these rules are already established. They are transparent. They are consistent. Echoing Emma's words, right? The guidelines on corporate PPAs, not just on transparent and competitive market policies. I would also like to add a pillar, which is probably consistency, right? When we have all these around, it really helps to bolster investors and financiers' confidence and ensure that the PPA is bankable, which will help us to secure financing and speed up and ensure that the clean energy goals of the people on stage and the people off stage are, achieved sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Henry, thanks for the opportunity. I just wanted to go and thank ASEC and ACE for inviting me to participate today. Prince Digital Group was founded in 2017. And since that time, really what we've tried to go and do is be of service to our customers, which are the hyperscalers. We build large co-location facilities. And with that in mind, we have a Scope 1 and Scope 2 net zero goal that's to be achieved by 2030, and then an hourly matching goal that we're looking to go and build up to come 2035. In order to go and do that, echoing what fellow panelists have shared, we have to go and be very thoughtful in terms of what's available to us and what's not. So what we try to go and do is obviously enter into PPAs when and where possible across our operations, which span from India to Japan, Indonesia to China, and then to go and advocate for policy directly and indirectly via coalitions to go and fill those gaps. And I think, one of the things I just wanted to go and do really briefly is just to go and complement what is being done here in Malaysia. I think, we've seen some great incremental progress, and I think it's been a really collaborative effort as well. And it's that type of relationship that allows us to go and refine and perfect the regulations over time to really go and support a lot more corporate PPAs being entered into. And I think we're going to go and see a lot of right steps being taken this year, and then many, many more in the years to come.
Thanks, Michael, and everyone. I think that's really a good segue into our next question to Tuan Rosalie, because Malaysia has seen a lot of leadership through the programs such as NAM, LSS, CRES, CREAM. And if we look across, as our presenters have shared earlier, in Vietnam, there's direct PPA. In Thailand, there's green tariff. In Singapore, also where I'm based, there's also limited solar novas on the HDB rooftops that we can do. So if I may ask Tuan Rosalie, what are some lessons that the other ASEAN countries can learn? What is Malaysia's secret sauce? That we keep on evolving, creating programs, hearing the industry. What is your leadership secret?
Hello. Okay. Thank you, Henry. Why you're talking about secret what Malaysia? Okay, this one is normally because our policy clear, right? The government already set clear talking about the net zero by year 2050, zero carbon, and put a roadmap. We have a two roadmap talking about the energy efficiency, and talking about the RE. One is an ETR, National Energy Transition Roadmap, and another one is a MIRA, something talking about the Malaysia Renewable Roadmap, talking about the roasting. The direction and support by government quite clear. Okay, they need something. This a program, and as regulator, ST must be look back all the whatever the policy made by government based on the just mentioned three dilemma. Important things are affordable. And security. Security quite important because currently at this moment, if we implement without taking what the three energy dilemma, all those things, they call we have especially on the grid system. Grid system quite very now the very constrained, right? So that's why we need to upgrade the grid all this thing. So we have good because of our team, private and government working together, right? So that's why we before we implement new scheme or new call a new program, all those things, we call a utility. We discuss with utility company, and we shall discuss with of course the policymaker, and as a regulator we implement the regulator. We have meeting many times. So how to implement this program. So we have our planning. Every year we have meeting on the planning. We call it JAPET. We call it something Malaysia something this. We call JAPET is something we call set by the minister. They have one we call a group to discuss what we need for the next projects to ensure that our program can be implemented, and our program can be as we call what the target is can be achievable. So that's why we need to discuss again and every time. And the important thing is because we cannot Thailand is different. Thailand mostly similar with Malaysia, right? Because of demand, industry is to demand. Just now mentioned about the utility and regulator, right? Also industry so play a role and this important role to the discussion, because normally we are listening that we call especially from the industry talking about the we call the system. They need the energy. They need the energy buy straight to from the developer, and they because they don't want buy from the something. They need because they're talking about the green thing, right? They discuss. So we have discussed. We get idea from the industry. We get idea from the policymaker, and we have idea from the we call the utility. We set all those things, and we implement new program for the RE toward the net zero by year 2050. This is something very challenging, and we hope a collaboration between the government and the private sector, especially from the industry, will continue, and to make sure that what you call the map, nature map or mirror map set by the government can be implemented. Thank you.
Thank you, Tuan. I think that's really a brilliant way to put it. I think a key mission of what we do is private-public partnership, or PPP as it's commonly coined. And that brings a good segue to the corporate demand and market dynamics. So if I can turn to you, Sophie, ASEC and SIBA, we did a recent paper, and a shout out to, I think SIBA, I think Kamara is here in the crowd. Thanks for coming all the way. So for the report, I think to which we were exploring clean energy procurement options in Asia Pacific. I know Google contributed to the paper as well. So there was a valuable toolkit showcasing pathways on on-site generation, off-site PPAs, UGTs, RECs. So from your perspective, is there anything from those findings that you particularly like to highlight, or that any policymakers can learn?
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a great question. I think just first of all, kudos to both ASEC and SIBA for the publication of these really useful resources that focus on how to make these corporate procurement schemes impactful. And I think when we talk about impact, what we're really asking is, how can corporate procurement be an accelerating factor to system level decarbonization? And the way these procurement schemes are designed play a really important role. And so it's been highlighted by Emma previously. It's really important for these schemes to be designed with several things in mind, including additionality, affordability, scalability, and traceability. Additionality is really important because it essentially ensures that corporate demand funds new projects that lead to incremental clean energy being generated and added to local grids. So that's super key. Traceability is also important because it essentially ensures that the impact is real, that there's no double counting, that there's no double claiming happening. So that's also really fundamental. And then, scalability is a factor. Well, there's many factors that really that go to scalability. Emma mentioned, ensuring that there's no caps that are put on schemes. That's one. It's also important for schemes to be really straightforward in terms of their actionability for users, to be inclusive, and last but certainly not least, to be affordable. And here, maybe just one thing I'll highlight from the paper is the recommendation to have grid charges, which in some in certain which you see in UGT schemes as well as in PPA schemes, to have these charges be stable over the course of the offtake period, to be transparent and to be fairly determined.
Thanks, Sophie. Yes, I do hear that it has to be commercially viable. There needs to be a business case. I also heard the words bankability a lot. So turning to our developer, Jane, who mentioned that they do hope to supply really great and affordable at scale green energy. Jane, as a developer structuring corporate PPAs, which you are expert across the region in ASEAN, I mean, will you be able to share some challenges? I mean, there are many, and maybe also one or two solutions that IB will bring to the table.
Sure. Last night during dinner, I was joking, I think instead of sharing challenges and solutions, can I share all the challenges because there might be no solutions to offer? This is the day-to-day thing that we face, right? Okay, but probably I'll just list out like top three challenges when it comes to like PPA at this time and age. Number one is definitely for bankability, we always look towards the off-taker. Right? Because they are really the, in short, layman terms, paymaster. So we have to make sure that the paymaster is secure, is reliable, is creditworthy, so that when they are, they make payments that's on time. This is like entire backbone of the PPA, so that we are able to secure financing and we are able to ensure that the revenue stream will come in when they are supposed to come in, so that we can make our cash. We can make our loan repayments to the financiers. So this is definitely one of the most key issue. And how do we make sure that the credit, like data centers or rather buyers are credible? You need to go through your usual KYC. And right at the get-go, usually what I do is, as well as I usually would socialize with the lenders first, right early on, and understand from them the parameters of what do we look at when it comes to being an off-taker being credible or bankable or not. So with these parameters, it makes things rather shorten the lead time it takes to negotiate a bankable PP, because we would know that which are the areas that we have to stamp our foot on and which are the areas that we are really open to discussing further, right? And I think that is number one. Number two would probably be I would say a regulatory consistency framework, because the transparency and the consistency in the regulatory framework really means a lot when it comes to the PPA, because PPA, we are talking about a very long period of time, right? 20 years. In 20 years, things will change and things could change. And when things change, what's going to happen to all this risk that we are talking about in this entire PPA agreement? So I think having a very supportive and open regulatory authorities who's willing to listen to industry consultations and make improvements to the regulatory framework, I think that really helps a lot, as what we can see from the Malaysia leadership here, and as well as the, like I said, consistency and transparency in all these charges that are being levied, because these are really some of the real risk factors that we have to address in the PPA right at the get-go. That means before the PPA is being signed, to ensure that it is bankable, financiers can accept that. So I think these are the two big main problems, I would say. And thirdly would be in terms of like how should I put it? The PPA has now evolved in a stage where PPA used to be like those cookie cutter. When we sign a PPA with, let's say, TMB, straightforward 21 years, very bankable, very reliable off-taker. And the terms are just, like I said, cookie cutter. You copy and paste. You just change the developer name, you just change the project mechanics. That's all. But now the PPA has evolved into such a creature that it is so different from what the cookie cutter is. Like every off-taker has different demands. When you meet with off-takers who have set very high bars, 24/7. And then this also puts in more I would say throw in more curveballs into could be a more typical kind of the PPA. And bankers are really learning about all this new stuff. They are still learning about in this part of the world. They are still learning about how BESS can work, how reliable it is, how will it be discharged, how would it be charged, how do you monetize from all this, and how do you couple it together with the traditional solar PPA. So with all these things and with like maybe shorter tenures that we are looking at because of data centers and consumers' requirements, all these things are very new and they are really coming very fast and furious. So fast and furious that financiers may be having a slightly challenging time to really understand everything and what are all the risks that are involved for them to take the plunge forward and open their wallet to us. So I mean, all these are really like real challenges that we are facing on a day-to-day basis. So what are some of the solutions? Like I said, I think at the get-go, very clear guidelines and a very open regulatory authorities would really help for us to proceed these conversations with bankers to let them know, hey, you see, even though there are changes that have been made to the policies from the time it was being announced, but you can see that they are really for the better, right? And because why? Because they consulted the industry and they are willing and open to make improvements to the policies to enable such energy transition to happen in a speedier way and also to fit the trilemma that is secure, reliable, and definitely affordable. So I think that is one of the solution that we have there to really have all these conversations and to be very transparent, because ultimately it is really a matter of solving risk. Because we have come to this stage where we not only need financing, but we really need to think how to finance it differently because of all the different PPAs that are coming on board. I think I'll pause here. Maybe you can have more things to add on from a buyer's perspective.
Yes, exactly. Thanks so much, Jane. That was really insightful. We just had a bankability 101 over there. So, Michael, you heard from the regulator, you're from a hyperscaler and developer, but as a data center operator, how is Princeton approaching the renewable energy procurement markets? Like, do you see promising progress, especially like when GHG protocol is going towards like hourly matching? If I may combine also both our questions, like we also had a conversation recently on like more need for wheeling charges to be transparent. More storage, more like geothermal, grid modernization. So yeah, feel free to share Princeton's thoughts.
Yeah, I think from a first principles perspective, the good thing is that whereas back in the day we knew that we were going to have to pay a premium because of the cost of the infrastructure in terms of the PV modules, the inverters, the batteries. Right now, we're going and seeing the prices having come down so far and still actually trending in a downward direction that this is a very, very competitive thing to go and do in terms of the economics. Moreover, what we're actually going and seeing is that it's a way to actually go and get power online faster than other options that we were utilizing back in the day. There are queues associated with gas turbines that are measuring, 5 years plus. When you are in the data center business, for us, we have customers that are going and saying, hey, we want this data center delivered in 12 months. And we have now a lot of customers that are coming in saying, we want this now done in 9 months and 6 months because you did it in 12 months. And I think that trend is going to go and continue. The reason I bring this up is because I think what we want to go and do is create a system that doesn't mitigate those advantages in terms of what is, firm dispatchable. In terms of, for example, a solar plus BESS solution like we're pursuing here in Malaysia. So when I think about the administrative components, I want to go and make sure that those are elegant, that they're purpose-driven, that they're efficient, because I don't want to go and have those be the long lead item that prevents us from actually going and executing a project, which we know we can go and do from a procurement perspective. We know we can go and do from a actual construction perspective, and we know we can go and do from an operational perspective. And I think the other thing that we want to be mindful of is, as pertains to that administrative component, is making sure that we don't have extra cost in the equation that actually change those economics such that they're no longer economically competitive. And I think there are two things to that. One is, just the cost to start out with, and then actually the predictability of this cost moving forward. because, for all intents and purposes, this should be an investment decision that's in the money moving forward for the tenure of the agreement that you're entering into. So if there are things that actually cause us to go and have some uncertainty around that, that could actually go and delay our decision to go move forward with the project or prevent us from moving forward with the project. And that's something that we certainly want to go and ensure does not happen, because we're firm believers in this, given our goals, of course.
Thanks, Michael. I know we are running short of time. So starting from Michael and down towards the panel, if you have any closing reflections or any closing thoughts to share from the conversation today, feel free to add in. But also one last question is, if ASEAN could take just one collective step in the next 3 or 5 years to unlock large-scale corporate renewable energy procurement, what would that be and why? So any closing thoughts and that question, starting from Michael all the way down.
Well, I think the thing to go and note is that, not all countries are equal. I think there are some that are really going and doing some exciting things, and there are some that have some room for improvement. To be able to go and enter into, a CPPA is a first step that we need to go and take. And that's not the case in every single jurisdiction in which we're operating. And so I'd like to go and see that become a uniform standard, and then we can go and focus on refining thereafter. I think the other thing is, just broadly speaking, is that we can't go and let, perfect be the enemy of good. I think there's always going to be an opportunity to go and refine. And what that means that we have to go and think about is having a collaborative relationship, not an antagonistic relationship between the renewable energy developers, the off-takers, the regulators, et cetera, when we're trying to go and actually deliver these audacious goals, like Mr. Rosley actually showed us in terms of what they aspire to go and do in 2050.
I think for me, it's really the PPP thing, the public-private partnership, because it really is key with the right policies, and we have a very supportive public partner in here. It's almost like half the job done, right? So because with that, it is giving confidence to investors, developers, buyers, everyone to enter into the market and to make sure and to speed up this energy transition in a very sustainable way. I would say that. So PPP partnership, like from the beginning, is like maybe earlier into the conversation that we can have this. I think that would really set the tone and make things faster. Thank you.
Maybe just a final point on how to ensure sort of success of corporate procurement schemes is really to have early and deep engagement with all the key stakeholders as these are being designed. I think that's really fundamental to ensuring that when launched, the schemes are actionable, and in doing that, also really looking around and taking some of the lessons learned from other jurisdictions and what other utilities and markets have experienced on board as during the design phase. I think that's also really key. And then on the ASEAN front, I would say accelerating grid integration is absolutely fundamental. An interconnected grid is a really powerful way to unlock clean energy supply at scale and to really fundamentally shift the economics and the reliability of power. So I think there's been a lot of positive signals from the momentum that we're seeing right now on ASEAN Power Grid.
Okay, I think I think we need something to be said before. As regulators, we have different because you just put a policy rules thing right on PPA. I think private sector and industry, they need to work together, and we can assist if possible. Something as an ASEAN country, maybe we can say among us ASEAN country how they develop the PPA rules thing. We maybe something new thing need to work together with ASEAN countries, especially because industry still they can go anywhere, right? But if the ASEAN can put one standard PPA or something agreement, thing is quite good. As a regulatory, we will totally support this something called looking forward on the PPA for the industry and for the developer. Hopefully we can problem we can. This is something new thing we need to study with among ASEAN country region. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. So you heard from our distinguished panel. I do also believe that in ACEC Clean Energy Coalition, we are a platform that likewise says to all the members, all our guests here, what they said, we partner with government, we partner with the private sector, we partner with finances as well. So I'd just like to again, please join me to give a round of applause to our established panel today. And I'll pass the time back to Matthew. Thank you.
Interesting. All right. Well, almost at the end of our session. And to wrap up this session, I'm delighted to invite Ms. Yang, Associate Director of Engagement at the Asian Clean Energy Coalition, to deliver the closing remarks.
Thanks, Martin. I will be quick because so that we can make the one that will be graduating for us. First and foremost, from the bottom of on behalf of the Asian Energy Coalition, thank you to our distinguished speaker. Thanks to our partner, ASEAN Center for Energy and the United Journey organizing this event. Many thanks to our jurist member and partners for being here and for the continuous support. Now please allow me to give a quick reflection not only from the last 5 years, but from when we first joined APM in 2023. We were there in Bali talking about APM, so we were there as well, and how a clean, cost-effective and secure power grid can facilitate the global competitiveness, not only for ASEAN, but also for the private companies. And when we look back at 2023, the option for corporate to buy renewable energy at scale were very limited. But today we have Vietnam PPA, we have Malaysia Press, we have Thailand PPA pilot and recovery. And in the Philippines, people are running the draft rules for virtual PPA in public consultation. This is a real progress, but we truly scale market confidence very essential. We want clarity, consistency, predictability, and the efficiency in operation and cost. As regional economic growth and policy evolve, we have seen and we will continue to see the important reform in energy sector, and the reform should be designed with alignment in mind, ensuring that the national goals and corporate renewable energy investment can move forward together. The ACEC, we committed to support this process through public-private partnership with corporate, with regulator, and ecosystem partners. Once again, thank you for your dedication. Thank you.
On behalf of the Asia Clean Energy Coalition and the ASEAN Center for Energy, thank you for joining us for today's session, and we truly appreciate your time and your engagement. So thank you. Terima kasih. And let's mark the end of today's session.